feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in.
We are one step closer to New York Rangers hockey. What's going on, Rangers fans? Welcome to yet another edition of From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. I'm Jimmy Fanizzi. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure you follow us on X and Instagram at BlueSeats94 and use the hashtag BlueSeats to chat with us on any and all topics at hand. Also, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and subscribe on all audio platforms, and be sure to rate us 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. In case you're wondering why there is no sort of like banner surrounding my screen here if you're watching on YouTube, I'm currently going through a teeny bit of a rebrand for the upcoming season 3 of my show. That's why you see no banner this time around if you're watching on YouTube. So things might look a little bit different for this particular episode. So I thank you for your patience, but I promise you it will be worth the wait. Good things are in the works. But with that being said, the 2025-26 Rangers schedule is out, and we are going to go over some key dates in the schedule, what we like, love, or don't like about the schedule. And thankfully, once again, I am not alone. Regular contributor to the show. I always make the joke he might as well be my co-host. That's how often he's on this show. Jeffrey Krentzman of Mind Your Pucking Business is back with me once again. Jeff, always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. How's everything?
Very good, Jimmy, and it is likewise. It's always great to chat New York Ranger hockey with you, no matter the time of year, even in the dog days of summer. I always love being with you, so let's go.
I appreciate those kind words, man. I like being with you too. But with that being said, and yes, we are on the dog days of summer, by the way, July 21st at the time of this recording. I know I'm a little late to the party with this episode, but better late than never, as they always say. So, with that being said, we're talking about the schedule here. So let's start with not just the season opener for the Rangers, but the home opener as well. That'll take place on Tuesday, October 7th against the Pittsburgh Penguins at MSG. That'll be an 8 p.m. Eastern Time puck drop. It'll be on ESPN. Part of me really, really likes this because A, it's Mike Sullivan against his former team, so he can send a little bit of a message just to shove it. And B, it's a nationally televised game. It's Sidney Crosby. And one interesting storyline that I keep hearing rumored around, I don't know how true it is, but I keep hearing that this might be Sidney Crosby's last go-around in Pittsburgh before the trade deadline. Again, I don't believe that's going to happen. That's what I've been hearing. But if that is true, that makes this particular game all that much more important for him personally. But Jeff, what do you think about this first game for the Rangers? Do you like, love, or hate this matchup for opening night?
I'm in the middle. I like it. I like the fact that, again, it's only one game, but the question was about this one game. You should have a severe coaching advantage. You have a guy who's coached that team, your opponent, for 10 years. You're going up one of your assistant coaches who's never coached a National Hockey League game in his life for a team in Pittsburgh that's not really expected to go really far. So in that sense, I like it. The part of it I don't like, which is really not important, I don't love the 8 o'clock starts during the week. I'm old. So, when you have opening night, you go through, the player introductions and I'm not a home opener guy. I don't hate it, but I don't go crazy for it. It's all right. Like it's, I think when you look at that matchup, and in particular, you look at the first 3 games of the season, which is Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, you'd like to get off to a good start first, those 3 teams.
Yeah.
3 games.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And plus, for us human beings who have to wake up early for work the next day, it also kind of hinders your schedule a little bit, your sleep schedule. So kind of works itself out here and there. So, but that's the home opener. I'm with you, though. I like it. I just wish it would have started at maybe 7. If it was 7:30, okay, maybe I would buy that. But I would have preferred a 7 p.m. start time, but that's just me. Now you have you have a reunion coming up here early on in the year on the Rangers' first West Coast trip of the year that begins October 26th, ends November 1st. They start in Calgary, then they go to Vancouver, where JT Miller will make his return to Vancouver. Then they go to Edmonton, and then they finish up in Seattle. But the Vancouver one speaks more volumes to me because of the way that JT Miller wanted out of Vancouver. Apparently, he was a bad locker room cancer for what I've heard, and ever since he came to the Rangers, he's been fantastic. I'm very curious to see how JT Miller will be received by the Vancouver fans, even though it's early on in the year. I really don't think it's that important, but it is a very intriguing storyline to me, considering how things went down in Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to be received well. I mean, if you think about it on the other side, if it was a Ranger that asked to be traded, they got fleeced in the deal, right? The only NHL player they got out of it is Filipino, and who knows if he's ever playing again. You then watched him go to New York and do well. JT Miller, the fans are not giving him a standing ovation. I mean, we can answer the question as to the reception he's going to get out there in Western Canada. It will not be a friendly one.
I kind of get that sense too, but it'll be interesting. So that's the Rangers' first West Coast trip. I'm looking forward to that one, although I hate the late games. That's just me because it hinders my sleep schedule.
So you know what I did?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm embarrassed to tell you this.
Oh, no.
When the schedule comes out, it is like a national holiday to me. I love it. And one of the first things I did was I looked to see when they're in Western Canada and then when they have the California trip later in the year, what days of the weeks those games are on. And you almost pray that it's not like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but they almost all are those types of games. So, yes, it's going to be a late night.
That's not embarrassing at all. I actually do agree with you there to some extent. But moving on to our first MSG reunion. That will be November 4th against the Carolina Hurricanes when K'Andre Miller will make his return. For those that are unaware, K'Andre Miller got traded to the Carolina Hurricanes this offseason and then proceeded to sign an 8-year extension to stay with the Hurricanes long term. I still don't understand the 8-year deal for a guy. Look, do I wish him well? Yes, but I really don't think he's all that great. So I don't see why they signed him to an 8-year deal unless they trust in the fact that Rod Brind'Amour is going to give him a chance to develop correctly. But hey, former Rangers continue to haunt the Rangers for many years, so maybe that'll be a continuing trend with K'Andre Miller, but we shall see. But I'm not more so concerned about how the fans will receive, or how K'Andre Miller will be received, I should say. I'm more concerned about how he's going to play against them because, like I just said, former Rangers tend to haunt the Rangers. So this could be a classic case of K'Andre Miller could come in here and light up the lamp 2 times, maybe get a hat trick. That's what worries me most, especially given the fact that Carolina is probably going to fight for the Metro yet again. But Jeff, I'm just really worried about how K'Andre Miller is going to play, and I just have that feeling he is going to haunt the Rangers this year.
Well, we talked about this on MYPB last week, and I think it's actually in a clip. How can he haunt the Rangers? Now, you're right. The track record is somebody, the trade always backfires on the Rangers. But K'Andre Miller's not going to score a hat trick, right?
No.
So, what is the definition in this situation? K'Andre Miller haunts you. How? I'm not, and that's not saying that he can't be better in Carolina than he was here, or to your point that Rod Brind'Amour can't get more out of him than the Rangers did. I'm sure he will. That's usually how it works. But I don't know in a player like that, how does he haunt you? Does he haunt you because when you played them, he didn't turn the puck over and it was an improvement for him? Did he haunt you because he was physical along the boards on a play against Artemi Panarin? I just don't know. Now, if it was a winger or an offensive player or a goalie you trade, yeah, I can figure out how he comes back and haunts you when he comes back to the world's most famous arena. But I don't know how K'Andre Miller, who doesn't really score, haunts you. I mean, maybe I'm proved wrong and he has 2 goals, and would I be surprised? No. But I'm not sure that this is a situation where the player can actually really, really haunt you to the point where it has a detrimental impact on that game.
It's tough. I'm not saying it's going to be detrimental. I just have that strong feeling when he comes to MSG for the first time on the opposing team that he's just going to have one of those games and it's going to be a continuing pattern. That's just my fear. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's my fear deep down inside. But that's just me talking. But let's get into an MSG debut. That would be one Matthew Schaefer, the number 1 overall pick for the New York Islanders. And if you know the New York Rangers, you know they have a tendency to give up first NHL goals to a lot of rookies. And I'm kind of expecting the same with Matthew Schaefer, even though I really don't expect much from the Islanders at all this year. I do expect Matthew Schaefer to be a rising star in this league. He's not going to be the sole answer to the Islanders' problems, but I do expect him to score at the time that he makes his MSG debut.
Yeah, now I don't know. I don't follow the Islanders enough to tell you. I don't know if he's projected to be on the team in the beginning of the year. I would assume he is. But I mean, there are definitely some situations where you see young kids, like he's only 19, I believe, that
Yeah.
don't play right away. If he plays right away, like you said, would I be surprised if somehow he gets his first goal or his first point on November 8th when he comes to the Garden on a Saturday night? Would I be surprised? No, because that's the track record around here. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's going to be a star in the league, unfortunately for Ranger fans.
Yeah, he said so himself. He's looking forward to the Rangers Islanders rivalry. I believe in an interview that he did at the draft. So it'll be interesting to see how he lives up to the hype.
He's a very, I mean, I don't know that much about him, but the stuff I've read, he's a very likable kid. He lost his mom 2 years ago. He's had a very difficult road. He's a really good kid off the ice. I mean, look,
I've heard.
You know, you're not going to root for him to be successful at UBS Arena or when they play at MSG, obviously, but he is a very likable guy, and it'll be interesting to see him November 8th if, in fact, he does make that Islanders roster.
Yeah, it's projected that it will be his MSG debut. I expect that to be the case, but we shall see. We got another potential reunion coming up, barring if he's healthy, that is. We talked about him earlier. That's Filipino. He'll make his MSG return on December 16th. Again, barring his health. If he's on the bench, then it's going to be really, really heartbreaking to see. But at this point, Filipino has had a history of concussions. Who knows if he's even going to even see the ice at all this year? I really hope he does. And I really hope he plays a full season. I really would love to see him play a full season again. But I just worry that with his injury history that, one more hit could end his career. You really don't want to hear that for a guy like Filipino who has so much potential. But barring his health, he'll make his return to MSG on December 16th. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. But I don't want to be this guy and ask this question, but I just have to ask. Do you expect Filipino to be healthy enough to play against the Rangers in December?
No.
Yeah. I agree.
I'd like to be wrong. Look, there are some situations when a player leaves a team that you support, especially when they're a homegrown kid like Filipino was as he was drafted here. Sometimes you don't root for them. They kind of move on, and it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Anybody who doesn't root for Filipino is lost because he was nothing but good here. He's not in a situation, and he's not in your division. He's playing out in Vancouver, who cannot hurt you in any way, shape, or form unless you met them in the Cup Finals. You have to be cheering for Filipino to be successful. I hope he is, but we've been down this road so many times. Every time he takes a hit along the boards, every time he goes down, you hold your breath. And unfortunately, it doesn't take a lot to keep him out.
Yeah, I mean, again, I really hate to be that guy. I hope he's healthy and I hope he plays, but I just have that feeling, man. I really hope that we're wrong, though. I don't know why I skipped over this date. I apologize about this.
I know where you're going. You're going the night before. I was thinking that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my mistake because
No.
that's another big one. Chris Kreider comes back to MSG, as does Jacob Trouba when they play the Anaheim Ducks. And look, again, Jeff, you and I have talked about this at nauseum. I said to you that out of Mika Zibanejad or Chris Kreider, I said it was Chris Kreider that was more likely going to go. And sure enough, he gets traded to the Anaheim Ducks. And look, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a little emotional. They're obviously going to give him a video tribute, and Ranger fans are going to give him a standing ovation. Now, I know there are going to be some Ranger fans that have mixed feelings about Chris Kreider, saying, oh, good riddance, we don't want you. Some Ranger fans are going to say, oh, we hate to lose him. Because half of the Rangers fan base loved Chris Kreider. You either really loved him like half the fan base did, or you have really mixed feelings saying, hey, he really didn't do that much here anyway. That's pretty much half the fan base. Me personally, I thought he was a very, very good Ranger. He has the numbers to back it up. Probably going to get his number in the Raptors, but that's another discussion for another day. I could go on about that for a couple of hours. But regardless, the fact that they are going to come back to MSG, both Trouba and Kreider in particular, I'm more curious to see how Kreider will be received. Although I do think he's going to get a standing ovation. It's going to be really, really awkward to see him not in Ranger Blue, but this is another player that I have a feeling is going to light the Rangers up when he returns to MSG. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if there's a reunion date that you circle out of all the potential ones, I mean, it's the Anaheim game because you have Kreider and you have Trouba. Kreider, more importantly. Kreider had, look, I stand by what I've said for a month and a half. Kreider had to be traded. Does that mean that, you can't salute him that night and root for him and thank him for his years of service here? No, that doesn't mean that at all. I don't have a problem with that. I would expect the Rangers to really, or the Ranger fans that night, to really be passionate about supporting him. Trouba is an interesting situation. I'd have to give it more thought as to the reaction he gets. I don't think it would be extreme either way. Like, I don't think it's going to be extremely positive, and I don't think it's extremely negative either. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Jacob Trouba did have some issues here. I mean, let's be real. But the Kreider thing, that is definitely a game, and it's a Monday night. It's also the holiday season, so people are always geared up in the city around that time of year. That'll be a very interesting game to go to. I'll decide whether I want to use my tickets that night as it gets closer, but we'll see. I mean, that'll be a very interesting night at MSG.
Yeah, that'll be a game that I definitely circle on my calendar if I wanted to go to one this year. Would definitely be that one. That's going to be a hot ticket. Now we go to December 23rd through the 31st. They have a 6-game road trip. They play Nashville, the Capitals twice, one time being on New Year's Eve, actually. So no Florida trip this time for the Rangers on New Year's Eve. That's a shocker because I love the Winter Classic. But I digress. So Nashville, the Capitals twice, the Islanders, Carolina, and then the Panthers. Now, out of those matchups on this 6-game road trip, which one of these are you circling on your calendar? For me personally, I would probably say the one in Carolina, only because of the fact that, Carolina, we talk about them at nauseum. They haunt the Rangers. They're very, very good at home. Keandre Miller's going to be there. And it's just going to be a raucous environment. And I know the Rangers have had very good success in Carolina, particularly in the postseason. Go back to a few years ago where Chris Kreider had that insane hat trick. But even still, that's the game I'm circling on my calendar personally. What about you?
Well, I think so. I'm going to give you two different answers. I think the game that I would circle, if I didn't have an allegiance to any of those games, and I'll get into that in a second, would be the game in Florida. I think when you play an outdoor game in Florida, the uniqueness of that, it'll never probably happen again. And I think that's probably the one I would circle. For me, I have a connection on a personal level with tickets in Washington. So every year for me, I can go for free to any games of the Caps. The first thing I look at when the schedule comes out is when are they at the Caps? And I always hope that it's on a weekend because if it's on a weekend, it's easy to go. These are both horrific dates. It's at the 23rd is a Tuesday night at 6:30. My kids are in school till 3 up in New Jersey. I'm not going to make it. And I don't know that I'm sacrificing New Year's Eve for it either, which is that second game. But it is an interesting road trip. You come back home in the middle of it, to play the Islanders on the 27th. So I would say probably it's the game in Florida, but you could make the argument, as you did for sure, that it could be the Carolina game as well.
Hey, I'm not knocking Florida either. Two-time Stanley Cup champions in their building. That's also going to be a raucous environment, so I can't disagree with you there. And then, of course, we got the Winter Classic. Speaking of the Panthers, Rangers versus Panthers. That'll be on January 2nd at Lone Depot Park in Miami. I still do not see how the hell they're going to make it work in that stadium where the Marlins play. It just doesn't fit. Personally, I don't see how it's going to work, but people are going to watch it because it's the Winter Classic. It's the Rangers, an original six team against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion. It's going to get ratings. But for the people that are there to actually watch it live, I'm going to feel so sorry for, because look, it's Miami. It's going to be hot there. But I get it. Miami Stadium is like sort of an indoor-outdoor-esque type stadium with the roof they have. But I still don't see how they're going to make this game work. If it was in New York at, let's say, Citi Field or Yankee Stadium, then I could see it being up for discussion. But it's in Miami. How is this going to work? But people are still going to watch, and quite frankly, I'm still going to watch because it's the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think so. One of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older, and you're obviously a lot younger than me, so I congratulate you on that, Jimmy, is that when the NHL does productions like this and you sit there and you ask the question like you just did, which is completely fair, how are you going to do outdoor hockey in Florida? It doesn't make any sense. The NHL, I have learned, they always get this stuff right. There will be ice in Florida January 2nd. I don't know if maybe they get gifts from the weather gods when they have outdoor games or what. They always get it right. It will work. So I think because it's so unique, it's almost like, you're going to watch because it's your team and that's your paramount reason for watching. But I think if you were just a hockey fan, and let's say it was Boston and Tampa, which I believe they're playing outdoors too the week after, you want to watch just for that factor too, to see how does hockey in Florida outdoors look, because I've never seen it and I never thought I would see it.
I didn't think so either. Look, am I happy that the Rangers are in another outdoor game? Yes, because the record shows that outdoor games favor the Rangers, but in this particular situation, I do not know if it is going to favor the Rangers, considering it's Miami. But we'll find out. Maybe we'll be proven wrong, and maybe it will work for some reason. Ratings-wise, it might work, but we shall see. Now, we do have a period where there will be no New York Rangers hockey from February 6th through the 25th. And why is that, you may ask? Well, because the Winter Olympics are taking place, and I, for one, am stoked about this. I'm so excited to see hockey back in the Winter Classic. I'm sorry, not the Winter Classic, the Olympics. Look at me. But the Olympics are coming back. I can't wait for it. Team USA, let's go, baby. But the Olympics are just a really, really exciting time. And we're going to be all over it on THPN with watch parties and stuff. So stay tuned for future announcements on that. But the Olympics just draw such good ratings, especially the Winter Olympics when it comes to hockey. I feel like it's getting more and more popular with hockey in the Olympics. It's just going to be a really exciting time for NHL players to be playing in the Olympics again.
Yeah, I mean, look, you kind of got a little bit of a taste in the Four Nations classic over the winter. Kind of was like a little bit of an appetizer. Olympic hockey is better than the Four Nations. I mean, it isn't even close.
I agree.
You don't like the fact that you're losing the Rangers for 3 weeks, but you are at the same token kind of happy that what you're getting in place of those 3 weeks to fill the gap is Olympic hockey, because that's really good. And you also, I mean, look, no one has a crystal ball. There is possibly a situation where February 5th runs around and you say to yourself, you know what? I could use a break for 3 weeks from the Rangers.
True.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Olympic hockey is outside of the NHL product, Olympic hockey is the best thing to watch outside of the NHL.
I couldn't agree more. I can't wait for the Winter Olympics, and hopefully Team USA dominates, but best of luck to all the other countries participating out there as well. I wish no harm to any other country out there. But let's go to March, because this is where things will get very, very dicey down the stretch depending on the Rangers' record. They have a 7-game homestand starting March 27th and ending April 8th. You got home games against the Blackhawks, the Panthers, the Devils, Montreal, the Red Wings, the Capitals, and the Sabres. That's a tough stretch. It's going to be a tough stretch. I don't expect much from Buffalo, but I do expect them to be a little bit better than last year. The Devils have gotten a little bit better, although I want to see more from them. But here's the thing. I mentioned the Devils, and look, I'll go into which game I'm circling on my calendar in a second, and Jeff, I'm sure you will as well, out of the 7-game homestand. Here's what I don't like about the schedule here. The New York Rangers played the New Jersey Devils 3 times, and all of the games are in March, and one is at the Prudential Center. How does the NHL continue to get away with this? They play the Flyers 4 times. Shouldn't they play the Devils 4 times too? I mean, look, I get it.
Here's the answer.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, here's the answer, and I don't like it either. The way the schedule works with the 82-game season, if you are going to play each team in the opposing conference, the Western Conference, each one time, there are not enough games to play every team in your conference twice. So every year, you will play everyone in your division twice, except one team you will only play once away versus 2, and the same thing at home. So if I go back this past year, I believe they only played the Caps home 1 time. And I believe they were only in Philly once. They were in Philly the day after Thanksgiving, which I was at, which was horrendous.
Yes.
Terrible. So that is the reason why. Now, you don't like the fact that all 3 games are not until March. That I don't understand. That's where I have a problem with it, because by then, there is a chance that one of the 2 teams, if not both, are not even in it anymore. And then you have 3 games that would have been so intense in October, November, December that you lost capitalizing on the tri-state stuff. As for your other question, as the home games as a whole, this can either be very good or bad. Here's what's happening. When you have backloaded home games in the schedule, if those games matter and you, God willing, are in a playoff race, you love that you're home for 7 straight games or whatever it is, right? Because those are critical games. Those are nights you're watching your team, but you're also watching the scoreboard to see if other teams right behind you, right in front of you, get points. You'll love that it's home. If, on the other hand, you are eliminated by then because you've had so many away games already, it's been weighted so heavily to the away games, well, then all these home games that I have don't matter, right? It's too late. And the other way to throw a wrinkle in this whole argument, right, which is funny, the Rangers are not a good home team. Statistics, traditionally, it's like better on the road. So I don't know. Look, the schedule at the end of the day, you play 41 games at MSG, you play 41 games in other arenas. Would I like to see it more split evenly throughout the season without some of these bulging road trips that you just mentioned? The end of December is one for 6 games. There's another one somewhere in there. I know they're gone for a while. Then they're home for like 3 weeks in March, which is so bizarre. Yes, I wish it was more structured throughout without these peaks and valleys, but you can get it to work if it can work. No one knows the answer, right? I have no idea if it's a good or bad thing.
It just doesn't make any sense, man. I mean, if you had it spread out, say you play the Devils 1 time in November at Prudential Center, and then you want to put the Devils at MSG twice in, let's say, January or February, okay, I can buy that. But all 3 games in March, it makes no sense. Who's to say that, you mentioned it, the New York Rangers could be in the same situation as last year, and it wouldn't matter if the Devils if the Devils had already clinched a playoff spot by the end of March, and the New York Rangers haven't. What's the point? There's none.
The devil's advocate. Now, I wouldn't bet on this happening, but let's try and be positive. Let's look at this glass half full.
Okay.
What if you get into March? And I think the first of the 3 games, I'm pretty sure, is at the Prudential Center on a Saturday, maybe March 11th or something like that. If in the month of March, the Rangers and Devils are separated by 2 or 3 points, those 3 games are enormous. And then, I mean, it could work. But there are so many ways now that you're jeopardizing having every Ranger Devil matchup mean nothing throughout the year, which I don't understand. Sometimes, sometimes the NHL, and it's probably more so this year with the Rangers schedule than it is in other years, they do things that make you wonder, like, was it ever proofread? Was common sense applied? Like, and I said this to someone the other day, it's a very weird schedule. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's bad, but there's a lot of things different this year that you don't normally see.
I guess, but the way it's structured this year, it just makes no sense. But with all that being said, though, I still am really stoked. Whenever the schedule comes out, it's always a national holiday. I feel like people have to call off because it's such a big deal to everybody who's a hockey fan. That's just me. But out of all the key dates that I just mentioned, what are you looking forward to the most? And do you even like the schedule for the Rangers this year? Do you feel like it's easier, somewhat harder, or somewhere in the middle?
Well, you're playing all the teams the same amount. But I think the way it's structured, I think it's a little bit harder because you have a lot of away games. I think the schedule in the beginning is easy. Well, easier, right? Strength of opponents. So I think it's important that you get off to a good start, because if you don't and you're struggling, it's going to be harder to get your footing and get traction.
Well, didn't we say that last year? They started like 8-2-1 last year, and look what happened.
Right. That's very, very true. Is there a game that I'm looking forward to more than others?
For me, it's the Anaheim game in December. I want to see Chris Kreider and how he's received.
That's a fair one. I've never been. I mean, you know this. I've never been a huge Kreider guy. So I guess if I was, like a lot of Ranger fans are, that would be the game. I don't know. Like, I want to see there's a lot of things these are things we'll cover in the next few months before it starts again. There's a lot of things this year, like interesting storylines that, like, when I look at the season, I'm looking at it more like over the course of 82 games, not just one game. Like, I was debating with someone a couple hours ago, trying to explain to them how this is such an important year for Lafreniere. Like, which Lafreniere is going to show up with a new coach. And that's not really geared towards, how's he going to perform in this one game or others. But the Kreider game would be up there. I think when you have an outdoor game in Florida, I think that's cool. They have a Saturday night game at home against the Islanders. That's a big draw. They have a Saturday afternoon game right around Christmas at home versus the Flyers. That'll be a very good ticket. They have a Saturday night game at home in December versus Montreal, Original Six. That's a good ticket. There's a lot of, like, intriguing home games that are kind of thrown in there. They have the Thanksgiving weekend game is always a huge hot ticket because it's the holidays. They play Tampa on that Saturday.
Yep.
So there are some cool ones in there for sure.
And I think the Thanksgiving showdown game this year, if I'm not mistaken, is against the Bruins.
It is against the Bruins, yeah.
Okay. And that's in Boston.
Yeah, I was hoping that it was like last year where it was Philly, because I would go. But they're in Philly on a Saturday afternoon in January. It might even be a little bit better because with the holidays, everyone's so busy.
That's fair.
They are in Philly. I'm going to plan to go to it. I think it's January 17th.
Okay.
A Saturday afternoon. So that's a very easy shot down the turnpike. But little piece of advice for Ranger fans with this: do not buy your tickets early, because if it snows, you're screwed. Don't buy your tickets until you see the forecast. Don't get them till that week.
If you gotta get them last minute, do it. I mean, go to Game Time, go to Ticketmaster, whatever you use, and just do what Jeff said. I mean, because if it snows and the game gets postponed, there's no refunds, so you'd be screwed either way. But let us know what you think about the 2025-26 New York Rangers schedule in the comments down below if you're watching on YouTube or on all social media, X and Instagram at BlueSeats94, or send us an email from theblueseats@gmail.com. That's from theblueseats@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on the Rangers schedule this year and what games you're marking down on your calendars this season. Make sure to go subscribe to Mind Your Pucking Business on YouTube and all audio platforms. And Jeff, where can they find you guys on social media?
You can find us on Instagram at Mind Your Pucking Business. We are, you wouldn't know it's the off season on that page with the DMs. I was looking at it right before we went live, and the last couple hours, there's like 13 more to answer. It just never ends. But we have a rule that we answer every single one of them. So, yeah, that your best bet is to find us on Mind Your Pucking Business on Instagram.
That's what I like to hear, my man. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Jeffrey. Maybe we'll have you on again for a season preview episode for a season 3 premiere. So we'll see about that. But as always, give my best to the fam. Thank you a lot, Jeff.
Thanks, Jimmy. Take care.
Hey, you too. Jeffrey Krentzman of Mind Your Pucking Business. Again, let us know what you think of the 25-26 Rangers schedule. We're just one step closer to New York Rangers hockey. Alongside Jeffrey Krentzman, I'm Jimmy Fanizzi. This is From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. Go Blue Shirts, and we'll catch you next time. Peace!